Hello there. In this week's Spotlight episode of the Dad Mode podcast, we're going to be shining the light on this brilliant Cameroonian who's a trailblazer in the cybersecurity governance space. He holds a master's degree in cybersecurity from the University of Maryland, along with every single relevant certification you can imagine. Within a few short years of joining one of the world's leading pharmaceutical and food processing companies, he rose to the rank of manager of the cybersecurity governance team. He's a certified pro, so you definitely want to listen to him. Now, besides that, he's the father to two brilliant girls and also the husband to an amazing woman. In this episode, he's going to be opening up to us about his relationship with his now late father and the parenting philosophy he got from him, which he now uses to raise his two girls. He's also going to be an open book about his career path so that the next generation can use that to break into the cybersecurity space. But besides that, drop some little nuggets for people who are already in the space but want to advance in their career. Without further ado, I give you Don Manget.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. I want to try to get into your mind, try to understand your career path. The purpose of this is to present my audience with a path to following a similar career as yours, all the different things they need to look out for and how they can be successful. So let's start from the beginning. I understand you were also born and raised in Cameroon like myself. Tell me how you actually became interested in tech. Have you always been interested in tech, or was there something else that you had in mind prior to this?
I won't really say growing up I've had interest in tech. So from where I'm from, like yourself, Cameroon, we usually don't have a clear picture of what the future will look like.
Yeah.
But as a kid, as a young man, going to college, having a degree, one of my goals have always been see how I can be successful. That's just the main thing.
Yeah.
Fast forward to when I came to the United States, I started very small, like everyone does. When you get here, everyone would tell you about, going into healthcare. That is where all the money is.
Right.
When I started, looking into healthcare, I realized that it wasn't really for me, so I started looking at different options. I did a boot camp for EBA, database administration, and then just going into the field, started working and learning a lot about data being secured,
Right.
how to protect data. And I did some research, and I figured that cybersecurity would be a very good part for me. Took some classes, went to college, had a master's degree in cybersecurity, and then from there, I just loved everything about it. Fell in love with it. I wanted to be that guy that a company or an organization can look up to,
Right.
securing their data, and that's how I became very interested in it. And so far, it's been a good ride.
Yeah. But talk to me about your transition from, you talked about starting off in healthcare and database administration and then cybersecurity. Was it a smooth transition for you, would you say?
I would say so. For the most part, I'm very ambitious.
Right.
Anything I put my mind into, I try to achieve it. I see myself as a go-getter. Yeah, it was quite smooth. I worked really, really hard for it. Stay committed. Had to do a lot of sacrifices. Stay away from a lot of stuff.
Distractions.
Distraction, all the
Yeah.
stuff. And one point during my transitioning from healthcare into database administration, I had to stop working for a while because I wanted to stay committed, invested in the whole program, and thank God it paid off. And then while being a database administrator, continue studying, taking boot camps, going to college. Actually went to University of Maryland, had my master's degree there, and then
Shout out University of Maryland, really
yeah.
prestigious institution.
UMGC. And after that, went into the job market. And
I mean, your commitment, I mean, it has to be something that really has to be commended. Talking about someone who is an immigrant, obviously you have family back home, you have responsibilities back home, as well as here in the United States, and being able to stay focused, giving up work, like you talked about, having to go to college, and then you have to pay for that somehow. And a lot of people don't know this, but as an immigrant, a lot of us don't have access to student loans, and you have to come up with money for that. And even those that do, it's a serious burden on your disposable income, given that you have to stop working and then take a loan to get educated. And so that's a really, really commendable sacrifice to focus on something like that. And as you say, like if you're a go-getter, you have a goal in mind, you set your mind to it, and that's really commendable. But you mentioned going to college, and I assume a bunch of certifications and studying. Do you think would you say it's a requirement to get into the cybersecurity space, to get a degree or a master's degree, would you say?
I wouldn't say it's a requirement. It's just it keeps you at a different level,
Right.
with others. But I won't really say it's a requirement. A lot of people are getting jobs, without any college degree.
Right.
Just having the skills is the most important thing. Those certifications or degree are just additions, where to boost your profile.
Right.
But I won't really consider them a requirement to get into cybersecurity.
Okay. All right. So let's try to explain cybersecurity like we're talking to kids, right? Obviously, a lot of people hear cybersecurity and they think to talk to us about the field as in general and if there are
Yeah.
different segments to it and what they entail.
Yeah, good question. Because as a dad, my kids usually ask me a lot of questions around that, like, "What
Right.
do you
What
do?
do you
Why are
do?
you always on a
Computer.
laptop, computer? What are you doing there?" So when explaining it to a kid, I try to make it as simple as possible.
Right.
So, for example, I put it this way: consider that you are in your house and you keep your doors closed
Right.
so that strangers won't just trespass into it.
Absolutely.
Take that mindset and put it in, let's say you are protecting your phone, your applications, your systems. It's the same ideology, like you are closing the door so that unauthorized people can really
Access.
trespass into your home. So that's how I'll explain it to a kid.
That's a great analogy because when you in cybersecurity, obviously, very first step that you do in protecting data is segment the data, right? So in an analogy of a home, some of your more precious items, maybe jewelry and stuff like that,
Right.
they're in a safety deposit box somewhere really far off,
Yes.
and that not even people within the household can even access it. So you
is true.
segment those, and obviously there's controlled access to those items. So that's a great way. It's a great analogy using a home. I think that's something that a lot of people are going to find relatable. So
Yeah.
so thank you for that. So you mentioned your kid asking you about cybersecurity. What do you think is an appropriate age to start exposing kids to not just cybersecurity but tech in general and security?
I would say when you talk about security, as soon as you hand over a device to a kid, you need to let them know about the security of it, no matter the age. If you say your kid is at that age where you want to hand over like a phone or an iPad to them, you need to make them to understand the security aspect of it, So there is no age, but as soon as you decide that you need to start having an iPad or a phone, you need to talk about security,
Right.
because you're already exposing them to the digital world. So
Right.
you want to tell them about the security. Let them know you don't talk to strangers in the world.
Absolutely.
You don't share your information to strangers or to anyone. Your personal information is private. And then one of the key things that I usually, even though my kids are much more younger, but I try to pass that message to them or even my nieces and nephews. If you are online and something feels off, tell a parent, their daddy, their mommy immediately. So yeah.
Do you think there's some mistakes that are really common that some parents do when exposing their kids to technology that you
Sure.
can
Yeah,
you want to talk a
definitely.
little about?
We do make a lot of mistakes. Just handing over a device to a kid with no security
Control.
or password or control,
Yeah.
parental control. A lot of information out there that a kid can, stomp on, which are not good. So you wanna you wanna instill that parental control on any type of device that you're introducing to your kids. So
Obviously, for people like us who grew up in Africa, obviously these devices weren't a thing. And I
yeah.
mean, with the times, even with some people that grew up here in the United States. But as times change, and this, for me, for example, I grew up in a setup where it's what we used to call a village, where it's a community, not a village in the sense of the word, but where people are in a community where kids could be raised by neighbors. You don't worry about kidnapping. You don't worry about that. Kids live free. And so we played a lot. So we, like me, for example, I had to go I'd go 5 miles away from home to play and then come back, and there was a lot of safety. But now, living in a country like the U.S. and especially raising kids in a country like this, you don't have as much community as we had back home,
Yeah.
where you could have people you could trust and say, hey, I'm going on a run. Maybe I'm going to go do some healthcare work. I don't know, I'm going to do this or that. I need you to watch my kid. Everybody has got something that they need to take care of. So it's really, really hard. So there is even for some of the people that work from home, there is an offset between the kind of lifestyle that we had growing up. We didn't have devices. We played. We were free. But so a lot of parents these days would say handing devices to kids is not a good idea because it doesn't make them exercise as much. It doesn't make them go out and play.
Yeah.
In your opinion, how do you think you could balance the need to actually keep kids occupied with some of these devices, which is one of the benefits that it gives you, but also at the same time, not exposing them to some of the dangers that, how do you balance that in your opinion?
So for me, I would say in general, there's no right answer to that.
Right.
One parent can choose to do it this way, and another parent, will choose to do it another way. But if you're asking my own perspective of it, I try to I try to control that a lot when it comes to handing over my kids, giving them a device. It's not entirely a bad thing, but I know some people don't like it. So I try to control it. Like I said, I usually have them on a specific time, maybe 30 minutes on a weekend.
Right.
I try to put it that way. Sometimes I can go over 30 minutes, but
You're cool, that. So,
it is
yeah.
it is obviously very, very controlled.
Yeah.
I'm very mindful of what they watch. I just don't let them watch any type of show or that. So I really, really control that. And yeah, sometimes it's very hard as a
Yeah.
parent because your kid they want something, and you know how kids are.
Yeah.
They demand for it, and sometimes you give in, and sometimes you really need
To set boundaries.
set boundaries.
Yeah,
Sure.
timed on weekends, and there's no devices on weekdays, school days, and
Yeah,
stuff
they go
like
to
that.
school, from morning to evening. So
Right.
when they come back, they have different activities. I try to, put them on different activities. Keep them busy, and just on the weekend, and then we have family time. We try to add that to our routine.
Right.
But yeah, definitely they do have screen time, but very controlled.
Absolutely. Routines are really important, especially at really tender age to give them
Yeah.
some kind of discipline. Would you say that being in cybersecurity has changed the way you view parenting, or has parenting affected the way you work as a professional in the cybersecurity space?
Yeah, to an extent, I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
I try to separate my professional, work life from
Personal.
personal. But
Yeah.
however, we're just talking about how the world has become very digital. Kids are handling, devices at a very young age. And from my experience, from my profession, what I've seen out there, like what's going on, how kids have been kidnapped, from just talking to strangers online. That has really made me to be very careful, especially with my kids.
Right.
I am very, very controlled when it comes to having them on a laptop or a phone. As I was saying, just making sure that whatever sites they're going, they have specific sites, specific games that they play.
Yeah.
Make sure that it is not sites where they do advertisements, all the stuff. I try to check all those things before even giving them access to it, because sitting at the front line, on cybersecurity, just handing over your phone to your kid, they can easily click a link.
Yeah.
That would be very dangerous, and someone can take over your phone. I've seen that. We've had different hackers, different hacks that have been put out there. Just by one click,
Yeah.
a lot can change. So I am very mindful with that, and try to control that.
Speaking of that, I just want to throw it out there. There's a lot of parents. I have noticed that when a lot of us, especially immigrant parents, don't know the difference between, say, maybe YouTube versus YouTube Kids.
Yes.
There's actually a kids version of YouTube where you log in with a parent's account, and you could monitor from your own device, your own phone,
Yeah.
what kinds of shows that you want your kid to watch on there. There's even programs for different age groups. So if you're setting
Right.
up an account on there, you have to determine what age group your kid belongs to, so they could provide age appropriate material on there.
Yes.
And sometimes, for example, when my kid is watching a device and I see them, maybe they're watching something really scary, or they're watching, I could go on there and say, hey, I don't like this type of content. I don't want it to
Yeah.
get. So there's a lot of those tools that want to put it out there that parents can make use of. If you have to go that route, I know a lot of people are going to say no devices at all, to each their own. But if you're going to use that, there are a lot of ways that you could actually really, really streamline the kind of content that your kid is exposed to. So pay
Yep.
attention to that, parents. But let's go back into your professional. Can you talk to us about some of the more, has there been a particular type of cyber attack that you've been a part of that you think is really easy to fall for, and it causes people to lose a lot? Would you say? Is there any one
Mm,
particular one that comes to mind?
we had one event a couple of years ago where an attacker they sent out a phishing email. You know, phishing email. I don't know for the audience, when you receive an email where an attacker is either trying to persuade you to provide the personal information, or
Right.
maybe having you click on a link, or just telling you something exciting, that would really, have your attention. Usually they start with maybe you've won something,
Right.
so when people usually see that, let's say you have a gift card, click this link to claim the gift card, and people usually, fall for that easily.
During difficult times, it might sound really exciting that you have won a gift card, and so you might be really
Yeah.
tempting to fall for such social engineering tricks. But are there particular groups of people that you think are the most vulnerable to these kinds of attacks? I would imagine some maybe elderly people or the immigrants that are not very familiar with tech. Would you say? Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Not just immigrant. We have some brilliant people out there that have been
that fall for
exposed,
them.
even though they are immigrants. I would say most, like you mentioned, mostly elderly people. Usually those are the people that hackers or attackers go for, because they consider them vulnerable. They're not, you know, um, well versed with tech. Usually they can, when it comes to just getting attacked, you don't have to like have a laptop. You can easily get a phone call from someone claiming to be somebody, and they can easily
Right.
scam you of something, So yeah.
Okay. So, talk to me about conversations that you have with your kids about technology and about security in general. What is some of the advice that you give them? Obviously, don't talk to strangers, and how effective do you think that is? Or is there a way of really reaching kids of that certain age group to actually really emphasize to them the importance of being alert,
Yeah.
safety, and security in general?
So yeah, at this age, they're very young. However, you just want to talk about things like the main things that I do for me personally, just letting them know, be mindful, on different things that you watch. Some things are not good. However, like I mentioned, we try to control what they watch, but you wouldn't always be there.
Right.
So sometimes they can, do their own stuff. But the key things I usually say to them is, obviously, don't talk to strangers, and then don't share information. And then again, like I mentioned, if something feels off, you just notify daddy or mommy. And I also try to let them know, if it's not your screen time, do not ask for it.
Right. Don't put
Just,
the burden on me, Dad.
yeah, do not ask for it. Just being there for them, and try to understand that they're kids too. Sometimes when you try to explain too much to them, it gets, it could fall off.
Right.
So just be there for them. Control whatever they are watching, and I think it will be safe.
Well, thanks for that. Now I want to get into a bit more really, really sensitive stuff. I understand your dad has passed.
Yes.
Talk to me about how much influence he had in your life, what your relationship was, and some of the lessons that you, if any, that you got from him about being a parent
Yeah.
that you use on your own kids today.
Yeah. So my dad and I had a very close relationship. Yeah, we were like really, really close, like friends. He was somebody that was very, very strict, I would say, but strict with a reason, with a purpose. Try to ensure that all his kids, end up right. Being responsible people. One of the things that I learned from my dad was he was very, very committed in whatever thing he's doing. So I try to, tap that from him. Whatever I'm doing, I try to make sure that if I am trying to achieve something, I have to go all in with
Right.
something which I really, really want to achieve. I take ownership of it, and I make sure I try to execute it to perfection. Um, and then also, one very, very good trait about my dad was he was a people's person.
Right.
Not just immediate family. He cared for everyone that he, came across. Could be external relations. He always, when we were young, our home, we always had people, cousins,
Right.
from everywhere, from your dad's side, your mom's side. The house was always full, So I look at that and try to, figure out how they were able to do it. You don't need to have
A lot.
enough,
Right.
just have that mindset, and try to make sure that people are okay. I try my best to do that. It's not always easy,
Right.
but just having that mindset, it doesn't even have to be financially. You can also be someone that provides advice to people,
Absolutely.
show them the way on how to succeed. But yeah, those are some of the things um, I, try to tap from him as a kid.
Would you say he is the reason for your work ethic? Do you think there's something that you picked from him?
For sure.
Absolutely.
My mom too.
Yeah.
They, my dad was very, like I said, committed. He tries to take ownership, whatever he's doing, making sure that it goes right. Same thing with my mom.
Yeah.
When she was younger, I used to watch my mom. How she hustles.
Yeah.
Making sure that we have something to eat. Provide for us. It was just amazing. Sometimes when I see them think about all of that, I was like, I really, really, I feel really grateful, just having both of them in my life and, teaching me a lot of stuff. So,
Would you say, was he the type of discipline? I know a lot of African dads are really hard disciplinarian, but was he the type that would discipline you and then explain to you why he did that? And
I don't know, man. My mom can do that, but my
yeah.
dad doesn't care about explaining why. He just discipline you if you're not acting right. Why discipline you? Know why? They don't
Absolutely.
need to explain it. So yeah, but my mom was the soft one. Yeah, my mom was the soft one, and she would try to explain to you things. Sit you down, try to explain you things, and yeah.
And I think that's one of the benefits of having both parents in a home. Like you have that balance where
Yeah.
one person tries to be hard on you to instill discipline, and then the other person is the more emotional side. I
Yeah.
think it's a great balance to have. So, a lot of people don't even immediately see the value of having both parents in a household, but I think a balance like that is really, really important.
When my dad was younger, he would discipline you really, really, really hard. But
Yeah.
as he, got older, he started more talking.
Yeah.
If you trying to advise you, so yeah, that comes with age as well. They get tired of.
Age of the parent, they can't hit you as hard, for age of the kid as well, because sometimes they think, okay, both of them,
Yeah, both
yeah,
of them
as a
grown
man,
up,
yeah.
man, and then two are getting old.
Behind you, the way
Yes, they can do that. So, yeah, definitely both sides.
absolutely. What part of you do you think lives on as a legacy of your dad, would you say?
I look like my dad so much. Yeah, just looking at me, you can see him.
Yeah.
But I'm very my dad is a, I'll say he's a showman. He likes to show off, but I'm more calm. But
Reserve.
but let's see. Yeah, just a hard worker, I'll say. Just being, trying to do different things and also trying to be a provider
Yeah.
as a man. And yeah, it's
So we talked about discipline. One of the things that has been a very touchy subject is discipline. I think to try to balance the values of the manner in which we're disciplined growing up
Yeah.
in Africa versus, I don't know if it's a culture thing. Obviously, putting your hands on kids is something that is frowned upon, not only in this part of the world. Obviously, the influence came from this part of the world because, I mean, we at the time we're growing up, that was totally okay. I mean, everyone was used to it. I don't know if it was okay because everybody was used to it, or how do you balance that? I mean, obviously, there are people who say that being hard disciplinary, especially if you're using physical and a physical approach to disciplining a kid.
Yeah.
How do you balance that? Did you think there's some value to
As a
physical
parent
discipline?
or just growing up?
Either way, like, did you think, because for me personally, I look back at some of the hard discipline, I'm able to appreciate some of the things that it kept me out of.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there's so many dynamics to this. My experience growing up is, first of all, I'm not exposed to as many. I wasn't exposed to as many dangers in my time growing up as a kid would in this part of the world.
Okay.
For example, I'll give you a simple example. You don't even have money to afford alcohol, so it's difficult for you to get drunk and be exposed to the dangers that come with that. A lot of parents don't have vehicles, So it's difficult for a kid to get on the highway and put their lives in danger.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of people that kidnap. You don't have. There's a lot of things that are taken. Drugs are non-existent. But over on this side of the world, there's all of those different things that a kid could be exposed to, and then you compound that with the fact that you're not equipped with some of the options in guiding your kids in terms of discipline, in terms of orientation, in terms of just, I mean, what the kind of work-life balance that we have here is ridiculous. You're not really there. So my thing is, how do I tap from the values that come with that hardcore type discipline and put it in a system on a time? I think it's more of the times where certain options of discipline are not,
Appreciate it.
yeah,
Welcome.
they're not yeah,
From popular.
people frown upon it, or like,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you think about that?
So I would say, first of all, I really do appreciate whatever discipline I got from my parents. Growing up, I think so. Yeah, discipline in the sense of me being a parent right now. I so I'll just put it out there. I've never laid my hands on my kids. I try to be more of do more of a dialogue.
Yeah.
Try to dialogue when I see them, not acting right.
Yeah.
But also, I don't have a problem with it. It's just you being parents. Depending on how you want to discipline your child, it's up to you as a parent. But personally, for me, I don't like it. Laying my hands on my kid or anything like that. But I don't know if I'll get there. I might get there. But I pray that just being able to communicate, because what I want to do is I want my kid to be able to come to me whenever they feel like they need to talk to me.
Right.
Not being scared,
Scared of
and all
it. Yeah,
that. Yeah,
absolutely.
I want them to see me as a safe place. Not saying that if you discipline them or whatever way you want to go about it is not them seeing you as a safe place, but just me at this point in my life and the age of my kids, I try to do more of a dialoguing, and I can even yell at them if they are doing something wrong. But also when I do that, I try to pull them and explain to them why I did that and the right way, for them to act. So yeah.
I think it's a topic that, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people that even grew up the times that we grew up in that could tell you that obviously some of them might acknowledge and appreciate the value of the type of the type of discipline that they got growing up, but there are also those who would tell you how it traumatized them somehow.
Yeah.
And then there are those who would say, "Get over it. Yeah, you're a weak person." Or I mean, it's a really really sensitive topic for
Yeah,
me.
you can't really. It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard. Sometimes you just need to um go with your gut. Sometimes,
Yeah.
as a dad, you have that instinct, or as a parent, be a mom or dad, you will know what to do at a certain situation. Sometimes you wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You'll be confused, but it's a learning experience for everyone. As the kids are getting older, you will getting experience, and yeah,
Oh, you mentioned your mom. I understand she lives with you right now. Yeah.
that is correct. Yeah.
In you looking after her, and we were part of a celebration that you had for her. Was that her birth? That was a birthday.
Yes, it
And
was a birthday and a Thanksgiving.
yeah,
Just wanted to do something for them and just appreciate them.
Yeah.
What they've done for you as a kid, and just looking at them at this stage of their life, and just letting them know you
their value.
appreciate them.
Absolutely.
Everything.
I think it's really important. Is one of the things that people don't think a lot about is I always think about, like, someday your parent might not be here, and obviously in our culture you pool a lot of resources to do a grand celebration of
Yeah.
their exit. But think about if you were if just imagine they were able to be alive to see what their funeral would look like. Like, it's important. Set aside some time, celebrate them while they're here, so they can see, like, how
Sure.
people appreciate them. I think is really really important. So
Yeah, for me, like my dad passed away when I just graduated university when I was in Cameroon. Like we had our graduation in December, then he died in January.
oh
During that, something that I always remember in my head was he couldn't make it to my graduation,
oh
because he was down, and he said something to me that when coming, I should get him a wine or whiskey, something very expensive. Me being a young man then, I don't know what I didn't do it. I didn't get it for him. I don't know what I was thinking, but just me being young and foolish, I would say I didn't get that drink for him. And I went back for holidays and he asked me for it, but I didn't get it. I wasn't really thinking.
You're probably just assuming he's going to be around forever. You know, that
Man,
a lot of
yeah,
people that
that
take
was
different.
a tough one for me, and I still think about it, from time to time. I still think about that, and then just a month later, he was gone. That was crazy, man. And now I look at my mom. I
You're
don't.
trying to buy her all the bottles of wine.
Yes, I don't play with her. Like
Right.
I try to make sure she's good. Because I don't know, life is crazy. So I try to make sure my mom is good, and I tell her every day like anything you want. Just funny enough, when you say anything you want, they don't ask for nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, I try to make sure my mom is good and just look after her and yeah.
So you'd say dad passing, especially under the circumstances, makes you a lot more appreciative of
For
mom.
sure,
You see?
because I never knew that would happen. Like in 100 years, I never see that. I don't think I had one clue in my mind, even though my dad was down. I never had a clue that something like that would happen. I just thought we had enough
A lot of the
time.
time,
Yeah.
I think it's something that my both parents are still alive, and I think this is something that people in our situations we take for granted. I mean, obviously you're aware that death is a reality, but somehow I mean, even as a kid, you're growing up, you just imagine dad is a superhero. Nothing's gonna happen to him.
Yeah, like for me, my dad had so much plans for me. Like he always tell me you're gonna be somebody great. Yeah, my dad he always said that to me, like you're gonna be somebody great because I was a good kid.
Yeah.
I always follow instructions. Only the one time I didn't get him the drink, but I always follow the instruction. Listen. Had good grades, go to school, do the right thing.
No girls.
No, 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 no. I never did that. But I listen, follow instructions. So my dad really put me at a very high level.
Yeah.
And he always told me, you'll be great. Anything you want, let me know. I'll always be there for you. So, yeah, looking at that and not being able to, do anything for them. I had nothing to, at that time, but just where I am right now, I wish he was still here. But yeah, it is what it is sometimes. So
So you talked about dad being someone that's open, helping people, and you think that's one of the values that you picked up, right? So let's do that right now. Let's talk to our audience about walk us through step by step how you can guide someone to get into your career path.
I say, I think it's very easy to get into it. You just need to be someone that is willing to learn, committed, and just be someone that ambitious and want to do better. So, speaking of a path or a guide, I would say there are a lot of different boot camps that are out there. You don't need to go in for a 4-year degree program. No, there are a lot of boot camps that are out there. You can also go through some certifications, just to boost your profile a little bit. But I would say just following those path, of a boot camp, that would be my first suggestion to anyone. And then why doing that, and even why done with it, don't just stay with that.
Yeah.
Continuous learning. You can learn at your own pace. There are YouTube videos for free that you can learn, different courses, very cheap online that you can take. Just continue to like trying to um, learn more, improve your skills, and then not just about your skills, your soft skills, the way you talk. You want to be able to convince the interviewer, that you have good personality.
Absolutely, we'll appreciate if you have some of those resources. We'll put them down
For sure, yeah.
so people can access it. And also, if you out there are a trainer in the space and you have some material that you would like to have our audience reach out, please feel free to reach out to us so we can put it out in our audience. Do you see yourself as maybe organizing one of these boot camps, or that's not you?
Um, I've tried it once.
Okay.
Yeah, I've tried it once. There was one point because when it comes to the profession, I try to be realistic, with with whoever I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was one point in this career where things were really rough. There were no jobs, but I just didn't want to be taking people's money, just because I'm trying to make money.
Yeah,
So I try to be realistic with people. I prefer that if I'm working with someone, I want to see them succeed.
absolutely.
If it's not going well, I take a pause, reflect and try to strategize and see a way forward. But for the future, yeah, definitely that's something which I would like to do again. I like to be more of a coach,
Okay.
where I mentor people,
Mm-hmm.
if they want to get into the space, cybersecurity space, try to mentor them. Because to train people, do a boot camp takes a
It's a lot of
lot,
commitment. Yeah.
So yeah, that time right
And I can
now.
imagine you feel responsible for them,
Yeah.
and you have to hold people's hands. Sometimes, like you talked about earlier, having so much going on outside, taking these trainings where
Yeah.
people you have to quit your job, and there's some people will say, "I have a bill to pay tomorrow," and
Right.
which is quite understandable. Obviously, you have to make sacrifices, and you can make that sacrifices for them. The responsibility of holding people's hands and then telling them you can tell someone to quit their job. That's a decision you have to make on your own, depending on how badly
Yeah.
you want to go in this path. And so I can imagine the pressure.
And speaking of that,
Mm-hmm.
like I mentioned, things were rough a few years ago, but it's getting better. So I encourage people to look into it. Go out there. One thing you have to be mindful of is just stay consistent.
Right.
If you don't give up, you'll make it. If you give up, you never make it.
You'll never know.
Yes, you never know. So
Yeah.
you have to stay consistent, keep trying. It won't be easy. It won't come very fast. So you have to keep pushing. And all that. Yeah.
All right, let's do a few rapid fire type questions, right? There's just a quick yes or no, a quick one line punchy answers, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to say screen time for kids. Do you limit it or do you balance it? What do you say?
I limit it.
Okay.
Yes, I limit it.
Password manager. Do you have a password management system for your kids? Making sure. Do you have
do.
that? Yes. No?
Yes.
Okay. And then what do you think about social media for kids? Is there an age where it's okay? Is it a no? Or what do you think about that?
For the kid themselves to be, operating on social media.
Maybe accessing it, maybe not necessarily posting themselves on it, or but just access to it. I mean, sometimes like
It's just a dangerous place.
Yeah.
For kids, it's very dangerous. People say terrible things on social media,
Yeah.
and they can just stomp on it at any time. Something can be happening in Japan, and they'll sit in America, and
they know.
they know about it. So
Yeah.
it's just a dangerous place for kids. No, I don't think it's a good idea. Having them on social media, playing with it.
or phones in general, not just social media, because I mean, there's internet as well, or just phones in general.
Yeah, having them now.
No.
I think there's a certain age for that. If they are able to understand it, operate it, yeah. It's also good to have them having a phone because they can communicate with you. You want them to be able to communicate with you. You'll not always be around, so you want them to be able to reach out to you. If they are able to operate a phone, you can always control it. Certain applications you can not have it on the
Right.
phone. But yeah, if they understand it, yeah. So
I want to close out with some very, very strong questions. So, being an expert in cybersecurity, protecting systems, how's that affected the way you look at protecting your kids?
from the day my kids came into this world, I just became so
Protective.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even look at my job had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
It was just something that
That's the first instinct of a
Yeah,
parent, right?
yeah.
Like you just want to protect them. You want to, yeah.
yeah, that was not any negotiation
Yeah.
even about, trying to, put my job in the same space. Yeah, I just try to make sure that I'm there for my kids and try to make sure that my kids see me as a Superman.
Yeah.
Like you said.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And sometimes the instinct about protecting kids isn't only limited to what's out there. There are some of those really, really terrible things could happen to kids within the household. So sometimes it's the people you trust the most
For sure,
that hurt your kids. It's crazy how when you start being aware of these things happening to that you realize how common it actually was at the time you were a kid, and you probably escaped that by threat. You talked about your dad having family members growing up in the house, and
Yeah.
I've heard some crazy, crazy things that happen to kids. My parents were that way as well. We had cousins that every single time in my childhood, we had people from that were not his direct kids, like cousins and uncles and people from different parts of the family that spent some time with us. So there is that danger, and it's also one of the things that people really, really need to look out for.
Yeah, yeah. Kids are very innocent,
Yeah.
number one, so they don't usually know, and kids are very they tend to trust more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they tend to trust more. So it's up to us to be their guide. Be able to lead them, protect them, and always be there for them. Speaking of relatives or extended families, I think as a parent, you have to know who you bring around your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are not able to do that, I don't want to fault any parent that has been in such circumstance before. But if I personally, I feel like if such things are happening or happened before, I'll feel like I failed, as a parent. But again, life has its ways, and in general, it's very hard. But it's very hard to tell
Yeah.
because you can trust somebody, like you said, and behind their head, they're thinking something very
There you
dangerous.
go.
So yeah.
And for a lot of our parents back then, the thinking behind bringing all these people together, obviously, it doesn't occur to you that this person could do this. So
Yeah.
sometimes just the consciousness of the likelihood of that happening obviously might affect whether you decide to bring these people close or not. But I think the thinking for them sometimes is just provide shelter for these people, because it's customary, for us growing up in Africa, it's customary to have extended family come spend some time, maybe catch a break, and then maybe go get live later. But these things happen with the intention of actually providing some kind of safety net for these people, and not necessarily with the consciousness that something bad might happen. And sometimes even if parents think about that possibility, it's a really, really tough choice
Yeah.
for them to make.
Again, we're all learning every day.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to kids, there's no
Non-negotiable.
there's no you don't back in with kids.
Yeah.
So and you are their protector at this age. You have to do everything within your power to make sure your kids are good.
So it's solid. Now, final question. When your kids watch this in 20 years,
Yeah.
what do you want them to hear in your voice? What do you want them to pick up from this?
Oh man, yeah, man. I don't know. My kids are everything to me, So I just want them to know that Daddy loves them very much. And right now, I just want to say I'll always be there for them. Let them know that Daddy is going to be their number one, safety place.
Yeah.
Whenever they need someone to talk to, whenever they just need someone to protect them, shield them from the dangers of the world. That is that person. They are everything to me. Yes, them with their mom, of course. They're my life, and I love them very much. So yeah.
Thank you very much for sitting down with us today, Don. It's been an
No,
absolute pleasure.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And to all of our viewers, please continue to show us support on the channel. You could interact with this content. You could share it, like it, follow us, and reach out to us if you have very valuable information on a career path that you think it's important for people from our background or any background whatsoever to be to follow, or any material that could help raise kids better. And for everyone out there, always remember, choose kindness. Thank you.